Towards your end of your career, did you give up some of the sparring or no? Like, did you stop sparring as much?
I just didn't run on my spar days. I never ran on my spar days. Never, because I only ran like 3-4 days a week.
Oh, okay.
Because I ran hard.
Yeah.
So Virgil was like, dude, you do everything hard. Jump rope, shadow block. You don't need 7 days a week, 6 days a week. So the days I spar, that's the main focus.
Yeah.
Sparring, and then if we do some floor work after, but.
You were doing with 3 different, like
4 different guys, yeah.
That's what I've been doing. Every time I have my training camp, I'll do 3 different sparrings. 4, 4, and 4. And you know, when you get the second fresh sparring, you have to adapt to your head. It helps you a lot, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Especially once you get to that third guy and you're able to adapt to 3 people.
I used to hate it though.
Yeah.
They come in fresh.
Yeah. But then that bring the dog out in you too.
Yeah, you gotta figure it out. Pop's big on the rounds. Pops is big on a lot of rounds.
The least rounds we did were 11. So the whole camp, 3 different sparring partners, 12 rounds. I was just asking because now like the new age people, some people say that they don't spar.
It depends on guys who don't take a lot of punishment. You're gonna get hit, but I'm saying like punishment, they shouldn't spar a lot.
Yeah.
You getting beat up in sparring, you shouldn't spar a lot. But if you're a guy that, you know, basically dominates most of it, spar as you want.
Between Andre Ward, me, my brother, my dad, and Jason, it's like 150 plus years of boxing, bro.
A lot of work in it. The feet are the first line of defense. And, you know, you can have your hands up and you can slip and you can get away from a shot, but sometimes you may slip into a punch, sometimes you may slip and come back into a punch. But if you get good feet, you don't even have to have great feet. You just got to be able to know how to use it and when to use it. If a guy charges me and I take 2 steps backwards, that punch just fell short.
It's like,
you move a lot. I think you move a lot when you box.
No, I feel like I move when I need to move.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm what I need to be. Like if you backing up, you tired? Here I come.
Right.
Are you gonna be extra aggressive? Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. I'm gonna be what I need to be. Whatever you don't want to do, that's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna just keep coming the same way. That's why you see people that say, oh, he's a good boxer. All he do is move around though. He don't do nothing creative.
Benavidez versus Zurdo Ramirez.
That's a good fight. I can't wait to see that. I think Benavidez definitely beats Zurdo.
As he gets ready to fight Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez at cruiserweight, David Benavidez looks to be in great shape. Preparations for the fight are well underway, and even though the Mexican monster is the favorite, he is not taking any risks. He recently worked out with Andre Ward at his gym in California. In order to make boxing history, David Benavidez wants to become a 3-division world winner. Yes, Zurdo stands between him and fame. He will be eager to prove himself in a fight that could make or break his boxing career. Over Cinco de Mayo weekend, the Mexican WBA and WBO Cruiserweight King will fight in front of a big crowd at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. He will want to put on a show for the fans.
Cambio, fuerte.
There's a lot of respect between David Benavidez and his opponent. At their most recent news conference, Benavidez said that this championship fight had to happen because they had fought so many high-level fights in the past. He went on to say that he switched to cruiserweight because he wanted to be the best and was mad that he wasn't getting enough attention at light heavyweight. A big fight between Benavidez and Dimitri Bivol at light heavyweight has been on the cards for a while now, but talks haven't gone very well. He believes that this upcoming fight is a big step forward in his career and stresses how important it is to be the main event on Cinco de Mayo, a holiday that is traditionally linked with famous Mexican fighters. He sees the fight as a big step toward becoming the face of boxing and has promised fans that he will give it his all in the ring to please them.
10 years ago, you were a teenager, you would go to the Rock Gym, you were training at Hill Street in Long Beach. Every now and then you'd go to the gym in Carson, and Zurdo was training there with his former team. He'd walk in, and I remember Randy Robles telling me, Beto, eventually one day those two are gonna get at it. I'm like, but man, they're not the same size. He goes, oh, they will be one day. I can't believe we're here at the cruiserweight division, but you hear them both talk about it. We've all seen the pictures of them sparring, and like sparring is sparring. But David, you knew eventually that one day this was going to happen. Why did you know it was going to happen?
Because he's a top fighter. He's a great fighter as well. And I just seen into the future. I was helping him get ready for Arthur Abraham. And we had some great sparring sessions. He was champion for a while. Then he went up to 175. Then he went up to cruiserweight. So I knew Zurdo was going to be one of those fighters that's going to be there for a long, long time. He's only had one loss against Bivol. So I knew eventually we're gonna do this. I didn't think we were gonna do it in cruiserweight, but shit, it's even better for me. I'm very excited. I think a fight at cruiserweight between me and Cinco de Mayo is gonna be, we're gonna be able to showcase both of our talents. We're gonna be able to show it, like we're not gonna be wagering and nothing like that. So it's gonna be an even better fight. So I'm very excited.
Why move up to cruiserweight?
Because there was nothing else for me at 175 right now. I could have sat down and waited on the sidelines and wait for Bivol to have his tune-up and then another fight. But like I said, I'm not interested in that. I've been professional 13 years. I've been wanting to get the biggest title, the biggest fights possible. I've been denied a couple times. This was the other biggest fight on the map. Zurdo accepted it like that. So big shout out to him. I'm just, like I said, I want to make my own lane. I want to achieve great.
Both boxers talked about how important their fight was historically, emphasizing how important it was to have two Mexican warriors lead Cinco de Mayo weekend. Benavidez says that this date respects the legacy of fights like those fought by Chavez and Oscar de la Hoya, who never took the easy way out. He thinks this fight is a turning point in his drive to become the face of boxing. He says that both men's legacies are on the line. This point of view was reaffirmed by Ramirez, who praised Benavidez's skills while stressing his own desire to be the best by beating the best. Both boxers believe that fighting at cruiserweight lets them show off their full strength and ability without having to go through the hard work of losing weight. They also believe that this will lead to a natural, high-intensity fight that honors the traditions of Mexican boxing.
Sort of all those years of sparring, and you saw him when he was a teenager growing up. You might have said, okay, one day maybe, but did you think that this fight would happen?
I knew that it will happen eventually, and right now is the dream come true because all the sparring, all the session that we did, and we knew each other. We knew that one day we will fight, and this is the right moment, like he said, because 200 will not be a cutting weight or nothing. It be like natural, like those days in sparring.
One thing about it, as Oscar's talked about, Samson's talked about, the Cinco de Mayo weekend is special. I know, David, for you want to have that legacy, but there's something special about fighting that weekend. How important is it for you to put on that show?
It's very important for me because, for the whole history of the Cinco de Mayo fights, has been tremendous fighters like Oscar, Julio Cesar Chavez, putting on great fights. Not only just great fights, there were wars because there were paired up fights. They didn't take no easy fights. So I think this is symbolically, this is what it symbolizes. May 5th symbolizes two warriors, and now it's even more special because it's two Mexican warriors going at it for a title. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm at the cusp of taking the face of boxing, and Zurdo Ramirez, he's if he beats me, you know what I mean, his stock goes up. So there's greatness on the other side of that tunnel for both of us. So we're going to come extremely prepared.
Zurdo, for you, fighting that week, I mean, you fought all over the world. You've had some big fights, but this one is special because it's fighting David Benavidez, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the monster. Before I call him the different, del asesino, because I saw him when he sparred different guys. He beat him all the time, and I was like, okay, it'd be a good fight eventually one day. And right now, the May 5th, La Batalla de Puebla, two warriors, we make.
During the news conference, Samson Lukovic, Benavidez's promoter, talked about how he got involved with the Mexican Monster. The first time he heard about the young fighter was when Benavidez won sparring sessions in the Virgin Islands, he said. Lukovic signed him even though he had never seen him fight in person. He went with his gut and kept his word to make him the youngest super middleweight champion. Lukovic loves the Benavidez family and their 10-year journey together. They have been very successful over the years and have hit historic heights in the sport, in large part because David is very disciplined and can switch weight classes as needed.
Samson, you saw this young man and you signed him. What did you see about him when you said, I want him to work with me?
Well, in this case, it was not really only me. He went to spar in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, and I have the Jackson brothers, and he beat the shit out of him. So Tony from Virgin Islands said, listen, we need to take this kid. I say, look, I know you for so long, but I have trust on you. I used to do a lot in the Virgin Islands. So I spoke with Jose, and we come to an agreement, but I never saw him before. But in the first time, then I make my, I work my secret, how to get the best. And until now, I believe I didn't make a mistake because the first fight, he was in Showtime. I say that we have a future champion in 168, and I promised to him that he'd be the youngest one. Now, in the beginning of his career, in the first fight, he told me, let's do it 175 pounds. You remember?
It was 180.
180.
I told you 100.
So he called me up, he said, the lawyer, our friend David Garcia, he said, can we make the fight 185? I said, no, I just canceled the show. I just canceled the fight. You need to come and do whatever you agree with. He come less of that. And I believe that is the reason that he followed my lead for so many years, that he be almost 10 years together. And he went to 168. He said, no, 75. I can go to 60. I know that. And I'm so proud of him and the father and the whole family, because we accomplished so much in such short time that I'm so proud and hope that it will continue forever.
People are expecting a lot from David Benavidez in this fight because he is a great boxer. It is thought that Zurdo Ramirez will not be very dangerous in this fight, though. Sean Zittle talked about the fight on the Porterway podcast and said that he thought the Mexican Monster would win because of Benavidez's constant pressure and speed, which he said would beat Zurdo's technical skill. Zittle also talked about Benavidez's plans for the future. He said that Benavidez wants to go back to light heavyweight right after this fight and fight Dimitri Bivol or Artur Beterbiev for a big title. He sees the switch to cruiserweight as a planned step toward greatness while he waits for chances at 175 pounds, which are bigger and offer more in terms of reputation.
We did a press conference for David Benavidez. I was going to say Murray. David Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez. Any initial thoughts?
I think Benavidez wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think kind of like we were just talking about with Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. I think it probably more competitive fight than that, but one guy's speed kills in this matchup, just like it did for Ryan and Barrios. And it's interesting. David, for the first time, is fighting someone bigger than he is, and I don't think Ramirez, he better not show up like he did for the Dorticos fight, his last fight, where he's very fleshy, soft around the midsection. He's got to come correct. And if he does, you know, he'll provide some resistance. But, you know, Benavidez is one of the best fighters in the world. And I just think his speed will be too much. I'm interested to see how Cruiser, he's talking about going right back down to 175 after this to get Bivol or Beterbiev, which is...
That'd be a good motherfucker.
Oh, but Bivol?
Oh my God. Even one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Even one of them.
Yeah. And I would love to see him, you know, get that opportunity after Bivol vacated. Canelo wouldn't fight him.
Yeah.
So he's going up to cruiserweight for this. It'll be entertaining. I'm very... My question is just, because Benavidez stop him? Or is Zurdo just too big, too durable? Benavidez hasn't been a huge puncher at 75, although he stopped Anthony Yard, but Yard had been stopped a few times. Can he, I think if he stays to the body, and I mean, we're getting too deep into it, we got months to break it down, but if he stays consistent, he might be able to weigh him down.
Gabriel Rosado also talked about his own fights with David Benavidez and Zurdo Ramirez. He said that he has worked with Benavidez since he was 15 years old. He thinks that their techniques are different, with Benavidez focused on intensity and ferocity and Ramirez on making technical corrections while they train. Rosado backs Benavidez in the upcoming fight, saying that he has more power and a more aggressive walk-down style. He says Ramirez doesn't have the heavyweight power to keep Benavidez at bay, and that Ramirez will have to put on a perfect show with sharp boxing and great fitness to win.
I saw in an episode of Inside the Ring that you mentioned that you've sparred with like Bivol and Benavidez and Zurdo. It was just announced that, you know, Benavidez and Zurdo are going to fight. Give me your insights on what it's like sparring those three, and what a fight might look like between Benavidez and Zurdo in your eyes.
Well, you know what I mean? It was all good work with all these guys, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, the most I've sparred with, so I only got one sparring session in with Bivol, but Zurdo and Benavidez, like, you know, we spar a number of times, man. I lost count how many times I've sparred those dudes, because I've been sparring Benavidez since he was like 15, when I used to do my training camps in Arizona, in Phoenix. So I would work with him, and then he eventually then would come to Wildcard, and then we'd work at Wildcard. And same with Zurdo. But, you know, the difference I would say is, you know, Zurdo is more, he's more on working on things, you know what I'm saying? And Benavidez is just more, you know, he goes aggressive, you know what I'm saying? And Zurdo does like 10 rounds of sparring. So,
okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, Benavidez. Benavidez does. So, yeah, man, I think the intensity is just different between them sparring, man. But the thing is, like, since I've sparred with them for so long, we always had good rhythm working together. You know what I'm saying? It was very similar to each other. So, but yeah, man, it's really good, man. I think it's a tough fight. I think, shit, man, you know, you got to favor Benavidez just because of the volume. You know what I'm saying? The volume. And I think Zurdo's going to have to be on his A game. Like, it's going to have to be the best Zurdo in order for him to beat Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to really box well, stick a jab out there, and be in tip-top shape.
Callum Smith, a British light heavyweight boxer, recently looked at the fight and said that the Mexican monster would win because of his faster hands. He notices that both of them have fought at super middleweight before, but Ramirez is much bigger at cruiserweight. Smith thinks that the difference in size won't be the deciding factor, though. Smith also says that Benavidez's willingness to step up and fight shows that he was sure of himself during their earlier training sessions. He respects Benavidez's desire to move up weight classes in search of better opportunities, but he warns that switching from fighting at cruiserweight to light heavyweight can be hard on the body, comparing it to Roy Jones Jr.'s career.
And before I go, another fight I wanted to ask you about, champion at light heavyweight, moving up to cruiserweight, David Benavidez taking on Zurdo Ramirez. I guess what's your pick in that fight, definitely David moving up?
It's a good fight, really good fight. I just think speed with Benavidez probably maybe be the difference. I think he's got really fast hands. I don't think Ramirez is the fastest.
Yeah.
I think the speed, and I don't think Ramirez, neither of them are genuine massive cruiserweights, so I don't think the size will be too much of a factor. Although I was seeing head to head, and Ramirez looks massive to be fair, considering he both come from 168. But yeah, I just think the speed of Benavidez will probably be. Plus, they've sparred a lot as well, so I don't think if Benavidez fancied it too much, he doesn't have to go up to cruiserweight. So the fact that he's choosing to do it means he probably likes how the spars went.
Do you think him coming back, like him talking about coming back down to light heavy, is a negative effect, I guess, of him?
It depends how he goes up in terms of how much natural weight he puts on, and to come right back it will be tough. Like I feel like Roy Jones coming back from
that's what everyone always uses.
But I don't know. I think it's weird because I think the fight he probably wants to meet Bivol. But then if I was Bivol, I'd want to fight him for his cruiserweight belt rather than this. So I don't know whether does he come back down. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I think he'll go with what he's shown throughout his career, which is I like him. He'll go wherever the big fights are. He was a 168. Canelo had all the belts tied up, so he moved to 175, and now he's moving to cruiserweight. So I think he'll go wherever the big fight is.
Finally, in his most recent interview, the Mexican monster talked about how he is going to approach the next fight with a clear head and said that his goal is to win without any question. He says that fighting a friend helps him do better because he doesn't have to deal with anger or trash talk, which he found distracting in past fights against Caleb Plant and David Morrell. By staying in the flow of his work, he can focus on following his plan and doing as much damage as possible.
All right, Sean Zattel here with the Mexican monster, David Benavidez, fighting for those 2 titles, Cinco de Mayo weekend. And David, man, based on your 2 styles, your 2 abilities as fighters, and the experience you had with him sparring, why do you believe you could be the first guy to knock him out? A big guy, a durable Mexican fighter in Zurdo Ramirez.
I mean, I said that the way I get a knockout is me putting the game plan in, executing the game plan. I have to really be on my P's and Q's in that. I give him the respect because he's a great fighter. He knows how to manage his distance. But like, this is just the type of fighter I am. You know, I'm satisfied with the decision, obviously. But for me, I want to go in there. I want to make a big impression. You know what I mean? It's just when you come from a knockout, a win, your last fight, you know, you kind of riding high on that. You know what I mean? That's how I feel right now. I want to keep that streak going. And I know I could hurt Zurdo. So it's just, that's really what I want to do. You know what I mean? And that's how I fight anyways. Every single fight, even if I don't say I'm going to try and knock the guy out, I fight like that. I try in there, I try and inflict as much damage as possible. So whether it happens or whether it doesn't happen, I don't know. But the game plan is me going in there and winning, what's the word called? Winning without a doubt in anybody's mind.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when guys are friends and they fight, it actually turns out to be vicious. I guess
turns out to be a better fight. Yeah, exactly. Because we're not wasting time and energy. Like I really do feel like all that whole Morrell and Caleb Plant shit, like it really put things in perspective for me. Like once you fucking hate somebody, like I really didn't like these guys. All I'm thinking about is fucking them up, but not in the right way. Once you fight somebody that you're kind of friends with, all right, you start touching, you start working this, and then you get in your groove. With these other fighters, or unless there's just something I need to learn on my own. But we're just gonna go in there and go to work. You know what I mean? And so it's just I already have my game plan set. There's not really nothing you can tell me that's gonna really throw me off of that. I know exactly what I need to do to go in there and do what I want to do.
He also answered people's concerns about moving up or down in weight groups. Benavidez stresses that the scale was mostly hard to move at 168 pounds. He is sure that he won't lose any strength when he goes back to 175 pounds for a Bivol fight because he has dealt with drastic weight cuts before and has a technical edge over fighters like Roy Jones Jr., who have also had to deal with similar changes.
When they asked you what was the toughest fight of your career, you said the scale. And you know, when I think Roy got to like 193, 199 for Ruiz, and it took something out of him coming back down to fight at light heavyweight against Tarver. Do you feel, is the fight with the scale of 75, is it difficult, or do you feel like you'll be just as strong for a Bivol fight?
I'll be just as strong. I was talking about like 68, but
okay.
The thing about Roy Jones is that I've had tough weight cuts my whole career. I know how to do it. Basically what I'm trying to say, you have to take certain precautions on your diet, water manipulation, all that shit. I know how to do that really good. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with that. Roy Jones Jr.,
when he had to lose that weight, I don't think he'd ever had to lose weight. So he probably lost it in the wrong way. And then he had all that muscle build up. He lost the weight in like less than 2 months or something like that. So, you know, it's in that area. I have more experience.
David Benavidez wants to return to light heavyweight and get big fights in that class more than this fight with Zurdo, even though it's important for his future. But the Mexican monster has to win this fight first. Then he can leave his mark on history. What do you think about this fight, though? On May 2nd, can he beat Zurdo Ramirez? Tell us what you think will happen in the comments. That's all for the video today. Remember to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon if you liked it so you don't miss any more movies. Remember to leave your thoughts in the space provided. Watch out for the next video.